Here's Aaron Fitt, Mike Rooney. Sometimes Kendall jumps on, but I know he's got stuff going on. But I know you guys are really busy right now, so I appreciate you guys jumping on with me.
Absolutely.
We're good, RB. My Atlantic 10 previews turned in. I do have a blown out back from writing a preview. First ever back injury from writing a preview, but we're good. It's turned in.
Has that gotten easier for you guys or more difficult?
Ooh, Fitzy, you should
Uh,
comment.
well, I mean, I would say it's easier for Kendall and I because we have a lot more help than we had back in the days, the dark ages, I guess you would say, when we had 30 conference previews that we mostly had to do ourselves. At least now we got a whole staff of guys at D1 baseball who are crushing it, and you got generational talents like Michael Patrick Rooney cranking out world-class coverage of the A10, and you got Bradley on the team now, and Joe and everybody else. I mean, we got about what 10 different guys cranking out these things. And so from that respect, it's easier. At least we can spread the work out. But it's always a grind. The preseason is always a grind. It's just wading through so many notes and talking about so many players and trying not to use the exact same phrases over and over again is difficult. And anytime you're making predictions, I mean, I feel like you're gonna hit some, you're gonna miss some. It's all in good fun. I mean, that's what this is about. It's fun to talk about this stuff. But yeah, it's the best part is when the season starts. And then I think we can all settle into a much better rhythm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it speaks volumes to the job that you guys have done because there is so much interest in it now. It's as big as football and basketball now with the interest, and people do want to know the players. They want to know the teams. Like they want to know all this stuff now.
I I would say this, RB, too. Like the one thing that is to your previous question is there's so much information now. Like like you have to really discipline yourself to like before when we're writing these previews 7 or 8 years ago, you have a questionnaire and that's what you're writing, right? Like it's that's the info you got. Now you got True Media and 643 and the D1 site's got incredible stats. Like, I can't tell you how many times I'm writing up a player even for an Atlantic 10 preview and I'm down the rabbit hole of like what his walk percentage is and his strikeout percentage. Like 8 years ago, that's just like a not you label as tools and go from there. But to what you just mentioned, I do think that has been super cool where the sport has become so much more streamlined than ever before. Like, like hey, 2022 Tennessee really helped. Like people that don't like sports even like that team or didn't like that team, but you were somewhere, right? Like it was one or the other. And then like, when Jim Slostigal goes from A&M to Texas, people that weren't college baseball fans are like, oh, geez, hold my beer. Like I got to lock in on this thing. Right. It's like, it's been great. Yeah. I don't know what you think, Fitzy, but it's been a
Yeah.
blast.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more interest. I mean, I would say we're still not on the level of football and basketball. It's just a different level of volume, I guess. I mean, there's just a lot more. There's still just a lot more fans of those sports than there are of baseball. But our growth has been dramatic. There's no doubt about it, and you just look at the attendance and the ratings and all the TV stuff that we have now, and the squeeze play out there, squeezing it. It's just it's
Favorite
been
time of the
fun.
year.
Yeah, it's the best, and Omaha is so cool. It just seems like it's just gets better and better and better. And I don't know. I obviously we're a bunch of college baseball junkies here, the three of us. You don't have to convince us, but like I think we got a great product that is just getting stronger. And we'll see what the future holds now with the kind of the new lay of the land with all the scholarships. I mean, it's so funny. Like think about this, guys. How many years, decades now? 30 years where we all just wringing our hands about 11.7, 11.7. Oh, when are we going to get more scholarships? And everybody just crying for decades. And all of a sudden, boom, you can give everyone on your roster a full scholarship. Like, what? I mean, I don't think people are talking about this enough. We had 11.7 for a 35-man roster for all these years. And now you can give everybody a full ride if you want, if you could afford it. Like, it's bonkers to this new world that we're living in.
Thoughts
How
on the
about you?
convention? Shout out to
Ooh.
Soldier Sports, by the
Mm.
way. They're a good
Oh, that
addition.
was
They had a whole
fun.
stage set up. Like every time, I didn't get in there much, but every time I walked in there, one of you guys was on stage with Soldier Sports.
That was very fun. Yeah, so yes, her thoughts on the convention. RB, like one of my favorite parts of the convention. I think I've said this to you, Fitzy, but like, you know, for us at D1 baseball, we're all in different parts of the country, but we're on our D1 WhatsApp thread chat all day, every day, right? Like, I hope my day job's not listening. Like when I'm supposed to be locked in on a conference call, we're talking smack about our fantasy college baseball teams. But like I see these guys twice a year, right? I see them at the convention. I see them in Omaha, basically. And we have an awesome dinner. And I know that's what's cool about this. Every baseball group or coaches have this, where we have this incredible D1 baseball dinner. It's like our annual dinner at the convention every year. And it's the one time we're all together. It's so fun. So fun. But yeah, like I don't know, like I think for Fitzy and I being in the game as long as we have, the convention is just like a mini reunion every year, and you just don't know who you're going to run into, but you know you're going to run into a bunch of people, and it's so fun.
And it's, what's cool too is as long as we've been doing this, you still show up and meet new people every year.
Yeah.
And it's like I ran into late one night, at the convention. I ran into Johnny Wilson, who is the son of one of my favorite people in baseball, a longtime Minnesota Twin scout, John Wilson. And young John pitched at Old Dominion, and had a nice career, and just finished playing pro ball. Now he's coaching. He's part of the Wake Forest staff, and it's like, yeah, stuff like that is neat. You get to meet kind of the next generation, some of these up and coming coaches. I mean, there were a number of people that I met that I was like, oh, like this is a guy to file away. This guy is going to be, part of that next wave. I mean, our game is still producing so many talented, smart people in the coaching ranks, and also just the support ranks. There's so many more jobs now for people who want to work in college baseball. Not only do we have a fourth assistant, you get all these different director of this and that, and it's just like there's so many different ways you could actually make a living if you're a smart college baseball person, and it's kind of fun to see these people on their way up.
I know him as Chucky, by the way, because when John was a scout when I was at JMU, he was about 2 feet tall, and John would bring him around for the fall games for the New Jersey Twins. So John would bring him around. So I know him as Chucky.
Love
That's
that.
an old moment for me now, thinking that he's coaching college baseball now.
That's
So
great.
and on to
Love it.
that, we've got new legislation, and I think this speaks volumes to where we've been at, where you basically within a month or two, you're able to get everyone allowable to coach on the field. Like that's a huge thing for me. And I think it just speaks volumes of where we're at, where with what we're doing with our on-site committee and all that, to be able to kind of implement things quicker, because it took so long to get legislation passed in the past, where I feel like we can make an impact much quicker now.
It will be interesting. Like I would love for our sport, and I'm sure the other sports feel this way too, but like have a good framework of rules that are enforceable. But then like let's not be legislating bagels and spread. You know what I mean? Like just like we do have to get our arms around roster construction and those types of things. But just like these types of things, like I don't know if you agree, RB, but like the too many coaches thing always blew me away. Like it's like that's a negative. Yeah, like I could portray it as a negative. Like how many guys do I want in my hitter's ears? 5, 6? Like that doesn't sound like a good formula. So yeah, like all those little things. I get it where coaches get a little bent on the shape about who's out on the road and that type of thing. But I also think if we have the right roster limits, who cares? Like the empowered schools can only you. Hey, guess what? Like I'm gonna pick on LSU, the defending national champs. I don't care how many people LSU has on the road, schools not of their ilk are not beating them in recruiting anyway. So why do you care how many people LSU sends on the road? So anyway, I don't
And
want to
that's a
get too
quality of
far.
life. Those of us that lived it and were on the road the entire summer, it's not that you're going to have probably 10 or 12, but if you limit to 4 out at a time, it gives people a chance to take a breather.
I do
Like
like
that,
that.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm looking at it as. With your staff, if you can send more people out, you're not just hammering your recruiting coordinator the entire summer to be out the entire time, where you can at least catch a breath. And it's a quality of life issue for the assistants. And that way you're
Absolutely.
not having to give a waiver, a fake waiver that your head coach isn't going to go out. Which
Yeah.
Do they
I
do
mean,
waivers for conference previews, Fitzy? Can I go?
Oh, well, I think we're going to have to redshirt you next year. I don't know how long
Oh my
this
gosh.
recovery is going to last for this back issue. I mean, it's
Oh
tough
my
to have a guy
gosh.
blow out in the final week of the preseason, man. That's tough.
We're going to right through it.
any other things you'd like to see in the immediate?
Fitzy and I have talked about this a lot. Like, I think the biggest thing I'd like to see, and again, it's a little fantasy island because there's so many other things in college sports that need to get right first, but I would just like to see us set our rosters August 15th, and that's your roster until next year. Like, just like not, I know it's better, it's improved. We're cutting less guys in the fall, but I'd rather just not cut. Like if you have to cut a guy for academics or discipline, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like right now, you have to cut people because we have this arbitrary December 1st date. I would just like whatever the number is, 40, 34, whatever it is, that's your August 15th, set it. Let the market right itself. I think some kids will get cut in August, but I think it's better than getting cut in December. That would be my biggest thing. And then let's just have 10 months to develop them as people. And then if it's time to move on, it's time to move on. If not, then we keep them, that type of thing.
I will
Aaron, you got anything
say,
on it?
I think there's, I agree. There's a lot of positives about that. I mean, I'm curious what you guys think as former coaches, though. Like, if you got 34 guys heading into the fall and you're locked in, and then you lose 4 guys to TJ before the season starts. I mean, there's not a lot of wiggle room there. What's the rebuttal?
I never coached at places that cut guys. Like Evansville, Iowa, JMU, Western, we just
Hmm.
didn't. So we were in that model. Who showed up on campus, other maybe through walk-on tryouts. You might take an arm here and there through walk-on tryouts to help with inner squads in the fall to get you through the fall. But our roster was pretty much set by the time school started.
I think
We just
Fitzy,
never
the answer to
wiggled it.
that is just like sensible medical led, exceptions.
Yes.
Like you have 34 in the fall, but like if you have a kid that is, like the kids I worry about are the kids that have Tommy John like at the end of the spring or in the summer. Like if you have 4 kids blow out in the fall, I think you just have to chalk that up to like, oh my gosh, or like I have to evaluate the kind of life I'm living, right? Like what is the universe trying to tell me right now? But I think like the kids I worry about is like no one wants to burn a roster spot on them because they're not going to pitch in 2026. That kid should just be a free roster spot, like a DSA, right? Like a medical DSA where, hey, we know going into the year, like this kid is not pitching this year, but this is going to be a rehab year. Or I don't know. I feel like sensible minds could get in a room and figure that part out. But I'm not saying 34 is the right number either. Like 34 was picked by attorneys and people trying to balance athletic department budgets. 34 was not picked by baseball coaches, in my opinion.
And runs we
Sure.
talked about at the Garden State Clinic, I think the renaissance of the two-way player, I think it's going to come back.
Now that would be fun. Count me in on
I
that.
I mean, you're going to have to probably to make it work, at least to get you through the fall. The places I coached at carried multiple two-way guys just because of
Hmm.
that. They may not throw in the spring, but at least gave you an extra arm or two of a guy that was a pretty good high school pitcher to maybe get you through the fall a little bit.
I'm in.
You
Yeah.
gave a good list of two-way players, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. That
And
was
I recapped on you, but we brought up because I brought up Micah Owings and there were some other
yeah.
guys
I did miss
that
some
weren't on
guys.
that.
Take Davis wasn't even on my list. Fitzy saw him pitch this fall for Louisville, and it was
It's
legit. Fitzy.
I think it's real, guys. I think it's real. Yeah, that's I mean it's that's the thing is you don't expect that guy. Didn't pitch at all last year. He's a big donkey first baseman. You didn't expect him to have pitchability. And it's like, 94 from low slot with just turbo sink and spin it and throw strikes. And it's like, okay, like this could be a real dude as a two-way guy.
Was McKay one of the last real good two-way players that's been in Division One baseball?
He's
He's a
certainly
Louisville
one of
guy.
the
He was
yeah,
the
one of the
most
greats.
complete, right? Like he was like I think Cags is it just was, he was hurt his first year, like he was coming off Tommy John. He was like just a, life force, but he was more offense than McKay was just like awesome at everything, right? He's like basically 3-hole in Friday night and let's go.
for 3 years. I mean, for 3 years, he was basically the best two-way player in the country, and that's amazing. I mean, just an amazing college career. One of the great college players of the 21st century, and for my money. But AJ Reed for Kentucky won the National Player of the Year as a two-way guy. He was a Friday night ace, for a postseason team, and also I think led the country in home runs. That guy comes to mind. I mean, Will Craig won our Player of the Year award at Wake Forest one year. It was, less of a pitcher, but he was a meaningful kind of stopper guy, just into a great offensive player. But Evan Dempsey is the guy this year, for
Yeah.
FGCU. And I'm sure you guys have talked about that, but like, he's exciting, man. Like, it's some obviously really good on the mound. I mean, his mound numbers are awesome, but I mean, he gives you a lot of innings, and he's a real guy as a hitter. Like, he's probably he just head and shoulders above everybody else as far as actual two-way impact this year.
All loyalty too. Like RB, I
Yeah.
don't know if you called that, but Fitzy, I think you wrote it, Fitzy, that all
Yeah.
loyalty team article, which is I thought was so
That was my
clever.
next question, by the
Yeah,
way, because everybody's so enamored with the transfer portal right now. I'm glad you guys are shining a light on guys that have been at the school and have stayed.
yeah. I'll tell you guys on I did the Austin P uh first pitch banquet with Jack DeLongchamp. It was so fun. And Roland Fanning is obviously Roland is the best. Their number one assistant, John Littell, who played at Oklahoma State, that's a rising star. That's a name to put in your back pocket. But I remember I was chatting with John, and he was like, man, I was kind of counting on Evan Dempsey not being back for another year. Like, what's this kid got to do to get out of here? And like,
Yeah.
there's not a better compliment he could pay Evan Dempsey. Like, what are you still doing in our league? But you're right, Fitzy. He's fun.
Yeah, he's a dude.
I also like the turnaround grid that you put out. Whereas, so who you guys felt like is going to have the biggest win total
Oh, the
difference?
stock market game.
The stock market game. Shout out to Joe
Fitzy,
Healy,
Fitzy
by the
needs to
way.
go
Joe
first.
Healy had
Defending champ
that
here.
aces. Joe Healy had the aces.
As he
Oh,
did.
that's
That's
right.
true.
Guac.
But you talk about a guy that stayed, Deverman at Evansville is still there,
Yep.
who was the Valley Pitcher of the Year his freshman year, and
A-
and
Ace of a
BDCU
super
in
regional
the
team,
regionals, and
right?
then super regional thing. But Deverman's there. He was a little banged up last year, but he's all the way back. So that's another one guy that maybe should have left, but could have, but did and has stayed, and he's in his junior year now.
Great
Fitzy, who
call.
was your best pick in that draft? Do you remember who was your team?
Uh,
Mine
you
was
know what?
Texas Tech, I think, that's my buy low.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, Runes. I don't think I had a great year this year. And I'm still going to win because I win every year.
That's right.
But like last year, I had UCLA, and it was like money in the bank. Like it's just
Oh.
sometimes you just know. I mean, I crushed all my picks last year. God, I'm a juggernaut. Uh, this year, we're gonna grind it out.
Oh, I
I
love
love it.
it. You guys want to go through the top 25 a little bit?
Sure.
Aaron, you want to go first?
Yeah, let's do it. Sure. Yeah. So I mean, where do you want to start? You want to start at the top?
Whatever you feel like. You guys are the experts.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll talk about our process a little bit. It really came down to UCLA and LSU for preseason number one when we cast our ballots as a staff, and it was very close between those two teams at the top. And we met and talked it out a little bit, and I just think UCLA's got so much back from an Omaha team. I mean, I just love the way they built this roster with taking their lumps 2 years ago with the young team with a bunch of freshmen, and they struggled, but they gained valuable experience from that process, and came back and as sophomores they were dudes, and now you've got three preseason All-Americans on your infield, with obviously Rock Chalowski, but also Uloi Lavu and Roman Martin, and just about everybody back in the lineup. Most of them are juniors who've played together for 3 years now, which I just think is rare and special right now in this era. And then, of course, you make yourself even better on the mound. I mean, they brought back, again, almost all their key guys on the mound, but you add a Logan Redeman and an Angel Cervantes, who's the number one freshman in the country, and quite possibly the number one, transfer arm in the country. Like, now they've got a real rotation too. I mean, last year was more of a kind of mix and match staff. Now I think they've got a real legit weekend rotation plus incredible depth. They can still mix and match as much as they need to, but they've got some horses, I believe, that can go deep. So I just think they're the most complete team.
Yeah, it's like Fitzy said, UCLA had the best returning team in the country. and then they won the offseason, right? Like it was like they just added on to that. I would say with LSU, RB, like I think we've had this discussion internally. We all have to kind of prepare ourselves for is version 2.0 of the LSU baseball dynasty upon us. You know, they've won 2 out of 3. Jay Johnson at LSU feels like Nick Saban in Alabama, like an elite coach at an elite place at the peak of his powers. And, you know, I could also make an argument if I really wanted to, take on this theory is that the biggest threat to Jay Johnson building another dynasty here was Tony V at Tennessee, and now he's with the Giants. Now, of course, there are other threats like the teams in the rest of the top 5, like Texas has got pitching for days, and Mississippi State, Brian O'Connor's got a national championship ring, and their roster is very enticing. And then Georgia Tech, besides UCLA, that is the best offense in the country. So there's, and James Ramsey, can he take Georgia Tech, to another level? I think he can. So, yeah, it's fascinating. But the LSU thing is just, man, it just, that old rinse and repeat. That's what it feels like right now.
Who's the best player you saw this fall, Aaron?
Drew Burris, I would say.
Yeah.
I didn't see UCLA. That's an easy answer, but it's just Drew Burris and Rock Chalowski are the two best players in the country. They're both going to be Golden Spikes Award finalists. So you can just go ahead and write that down now. I mean, why even have the process? Just those two guys they're in the finals. I mean, it's just Burris is sensational. I mean, it's just like you show up for a fall ball, game, and it's like he's hitting multiple balls 110-mile-an-hour plus, just bang bang bang. He's making sliding catches in center field. He's racing around the bases. He's the guy. And he's been since the second he stepped on campus.
He hit
it's
three
just
holes
two.
as a freshman, didn't he?
Yeah, 2 years of All-America production, already under his belt. And he's just awesome. He's a really, really special player.
What about best arm?
Best arm for me. That's a good one. Trying to think of who I saw in the fall. I mean, a lot of the good arms were shut down. Like I saw East Carolina, but did not see Ethan Norby. I saw Oregon State, did not see Dax Whitney. Those guys were down. Fluky, I saw Coastal, but he didn't throw. Like it's, a lot of that stuff. Hayden Johnson, though, speaking of Coastal, it's just the guy that jumped out to me. I mean, it's a big lefty who was in their bullpen last year. Now he's probably gonna be their Saturday guy. 6'5", downhill, and it's it just explodes on you, and it's like mid 90s. Call it 91 to 96, something like that, with a plus slider, and I think he is going to be the next like stud for them on the mound. I still love their pitching staff. So that Fluky Johnson duo has got a chance to win a lot of series.
Is there a better slider in college baseball than Norby's?
I don't think so. I think
That slider's real.
it's
I was surprised he was
ridiculous.
back.
Yeah, I mean,
I know he's not
all
very
loyalty.
big, but that slider's real.
Yeah, all loyalty guy for sure. I'm sure he
That's
could have
a
gone somewhere else,
that's a
but
bullpen slider for in the big leagues. Like you can
he's
put him in the big leagues right now with that slider from the left side.
he spins it.
Because
Yeah, it
righties have a
spins
hard
it.
time getting it to it too.
And he's worked on his changeup. So becoming more of a complete pitcher, another weapon against righties. So he can run that cutter in on the heads of righties. Plenty of velo too. I mean, again, he'll show you 95-ish, and from the left side with ride and spinning that slider 3,100 RPM, like throw
And
it
Cliff,
wherever he
don't come
wants.
for me. I was saying back because of the draft. I wasn't saying back because of
He wasn't.
transferring. I was saying
Yeah, I
back
know.
because of the draft. Don't come for me on that. I don't think anybody should transfer. I'll go.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
go in. I don't. Unless you're getting
Uh,
abused by
Well,
somebody, then you should leave. But like I'll don't come for me.
it,
I'm saying because of the scout should have taken
if he
him,
were
not
draft
another.
eligible last
Yes.
year, if he were draft eligible last year, he would not be back because
that's right.
even though he's short, coach, he's going to be a good pick
This
this year.
stuff is real.
That's
Stuff
my
is real.
favorite thing about Coach Godwin. He's looking for things to be upset about. Does
Yes.
not
So
want to be happy.
Cliff was a player at ECU. He knows I love him. I usually go to
Yes.
the Claire Classic, and so yeah, don't come for me on that. That's not what I meant. So, and we've had some Chicken Little with the NIL and all that, where it's only going to be the same teams that make it to Omaha. But then last year, Coastal plays for the national championship, and Murray State makes it. And I thought last year was a down year for the Valley, and Murray still made it. Who do you have this year that maybe hasn't been. Can we get a first timer in there? Because I mean, we had Oral Roberts a couple years ago. We had Murray. We've had
I got
Indiana
two
State
things
was knocking
along
on the door there for a little
those
bit.
lines for you, RB. So first, like my philosophy on what you just said is that we're coming off of back-to-back outlier seasons. Like I think 4 ACC teams and 4 SEC teams in Omaha in 24, even though those leagues are dominant, that's still an outlier. Like that's kind of bonkers. And then last year, 7 different leagues, that feels like an outlier too. But I mean, it's been fun. What a ride, right? I think like the Big West really has my attention right now. Cal Poly is excellent again. Irvine keeps rolling. Santa Barbara keeps rolling. Fullerton is much improved. Hawaii is the program in that league that just keeps getting. Rich Hill's doing an awesome job there. So one of my bold predictions is that the Big West will have a team in Omaha this year. And then the other thing a hot take the ACC, as good as that league is, has not had a team in the finals since 2015 when Virginia won it. That's over a decade. And I'm calling that this year that the ACC, basically in fairness to the ACC, the SEC basically has had a blockade on the finals, right? It's like we've had Michigan in 2019, OU in 2022 when they were still in the Big 12, and then Coastal last year. But I just have this gut feel that the ACC is going to have a team in the finals this year.
And I mean, that's your home league. You feel the same on that? ACC?
I mean, every year they
Punch
have.
through?
Yeah, I mean, every year they have teams that are capable of doing it, and usually they got somebody in the Final Four and they just get beat, like Wake Forest was the best team in the country a couple years ago in 2023,
Yeah.
and they lost a 11-inning classic, all-time classic game against LSU in the semifinals, and like, what are you going to do? It doesn't mean, it's not like they were a fraud because they were in the ACC. It just lost a epic game, against
Yeah.
another legendary team. Louisville last year was in the Final Four. I mean, they're just sure. I mean, they could break through any year. And certainly there's a ton of talent in the ACC. I think we've got more first team preseason All-Americans than the SEC has. I mean, if you look around the position rankings, like there's a lot of ACC guys sitting there at number one. And I think there's I would say usually the separator. Like those are the two best leagues. Everyone knows that. The separator usually is the SEC has better arms as a whole, and maybe that's still the case. But like there are some pitching staffs in the ACC that really have my attention. I mean, North Carolina, NC State, I think Florida State, Clemson, Wake Forest, all stand out to me for the quality of their arms. Now, those teams aren't as sure thing offensively as Georgia Tech and Louisville are, or Miami, and so like there's not one team that I feel like at this point that I look at and say, oh, they combine everything. Like they're complete like UCLA or LSU is, in my opinion. But there are some really good pitching teams that if their lineups click, they're going to be great, and there's some really good hitting teams that if their pitching clicks, they're going to be great. So we'll see how it shakes out. I do think the ACC feels super wide open to me. I mean, even last year the league was decided the last day of the season. I think Georgia Tech winning winning game against Duke was the difference, and they won the regular season title. But right now, I mean, like you asked me who's the top tier in the ACC. I think it's 9 teams deep. Like I think those top 9 teams could finish in just about any order. Like it's wide open.
What about the Big 12? They gonna come back?
One of my other I'm in hot take mode right now, RB. This is the week of hot takes. I like our good friend Chris Burke has an expression, the low oxygen zone. Like we've all seen these teams that they just start, it feels like they press in the postseason. And like, so one of my hot takes was Georgia, Oklahoma State, Clemson, and Arizona State. I mean, that's those are some brands in college baseball, right? Georgia, Oklahoma State, Clemson, Arizona State. One of my picks was that 2 of the 4 of them, now 2 of them are Big 12 teams, are going to be in Omaha this year, that they're going to break through. And I do think, my broader point on the Big 12 is TCU was easy to pick up there because I think it's the best sophomore class in the country. But man, that league's got depth, man. It just like there's everybody, like with Cincinnati having a Jordan Bischel, BYU's got 5 seniors in the lineup. Utah's got an ace and 7 left-handed hitters. Like I can make a case for all these teams, but I just I'm really Arkansas, I think was really fun to see, where they had lost 3 straight home postseasons. and then they just broke through last year. I see a couple more of those instances happening this year
I
too.
still want Arkansas to win it for Coach
This year,
Bighorn. I do.
yeah,
Yeah.
hard not to root for DVH.
I've loved him forever. I'm pulling for him.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
other
I
outside
think,
picks then for Omaha, or who do you think's going to play for it? Last two.
well,
Who are the
I'm
last
going
two?
to give you this. I'm going to give you this. Um, you asked for a potential first timer that could get there. And
Yeah.
we say this every year, but like one of these years, East Carolina is going to break through. And you talk about, some of the great sophomore classes in the country. I'll nominate East Carolina. I mean, they're not maybe not quite TCU, but gosh, I mean, Austin Irby and Braden Burris are dudes. And we'll see what Sean Jenkins can do in year two. But Colby Weber, another great young arm. Like they've got this nice lineage of real dudes, as our friends Chris and Runes would say on the mound. That Gavin Williams and Agnos and
Jenkins is in that crew, by the way.
he
He's got a chance if he stays healthy to be in
got a
that
chance.
that next line of arms that gets the big leagues very quickly.
He's got a chance, and so does Colby Weber. And right now they've got Norby. So it's like their best teams. They usually have a dude at the top. Trey Savage, of course. Like there's so many of these guys, and they got that guy. They got Norby, and they got some more guys behind them. And I like their athleticism, and I just think this is going to be after a rough regular season last year. They found it at the end. I think they gained confidence. It's kind of like UCLA 2 years ago, where they took their lumps with those freshmen, and by the end, they benefited from that and as sophomores. And I think we're going to see East Carolina do similar thing and be back to a vintage ECU team this year.
I saw them early. I give them a lot of credit for what they did throughout the season because early they were still trying to get their feet underneath them, and then you look up and they still had a great season. Taking their lumps early, but you could tell they were trying to figure it out. But like, there's pieces there. They always do a
Yeah,
great job.
yeah, exactly right. And but it really wasn't until the last 2 weeks. They finished tied for fifth in the American after winning it 5 or 6 years in a row. But last 2 weeks, I mean, I saw them in the regional at Coastal. It's like, oh, okay, like this is a regular ECU team, man. They're dangerous. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they could do week 2 against North Carolina in that traveling series. So it should be a fun one.
And Rune's mentioned Coach Vitello. Any other intriguing storylines? And we got Brian O'Connor, obviously, as one. That's what I put down. Tony was the other one. And then maybe the amount of college coaches we had go to pro jobs in the offseason. It seemed like every other week there was another college coach going to the pro side.
I think Chris Pollard to Virginia is huge. He's going to have more resources there than he had at Duke. And I think, and again, like it's easy to forget, Chris Pollard took Duke to 4 super regionals. It almost feels like a typo, like 4 super regionals. They hadn't been to a regional since the 60s. And then I think James Ramsey, Brian O'Connor, of course, like the Mississippi State fans don't need much to get excited. And, of course, Brian O'Connor is a lot to get excited about, and they have 10,000 people at a fall game, their fall alumni, whatever game that was. It was amazing. But I think James Ramsey is one of the most fascinating storylines this year. Like, we're doing our bold predictions this week, RB, for D1, and national title was a tough one. Like, I just mentally was not going to pick UCLA or LSU. And so the 2 teams I started really playing around with were Florida State, and because it's a Link Jared team with pitching, and Georgia Tech. And I'm thinking, okay, can James Ramsey pull a Danny Hall? First year as the head coach, take them to the finals. I don't know that I trust Georgia Tech's pitching enough to pick them as my national champ. I trust them enough to get to Omaha, but I ended up settling on Florida State. But James Ramsey, I think, is going to do an awesome job. And, we all agree Georgia Tech is that is 100% an Omaha roster.
And I had Corey Muscara and then Josh Elander, too. It's kind of the other
Mm-hmm.
intriguing ones. Really high-profile assistant coaches now taking over. And but as Kevin Schnall proved, if you're a good assistant, you can be a really good head coach, too.
Yeah, no doubt. And all these guys we're talking about are kind of no doubters. Like these are guys that all were going to get their chances to lead a major program. It was only a matter of when. I do think the fact that Ramsey had a full year plus where he knew he was the guy and like they were grooming him to take over the program as the head coach in waiting, and the fact that he it has the continuity with his pitching coach, with Matt Taylor back, which is something that that Elander didn't get. I mean, he didn't get either of those luxuries. His thing came together late in the fall, and he had to replace Frank Anderson. So I'm very interested to see how that goes in year one. I mean, I couldn't be more bullish on the Elander era overall. I just think he's a superstar in the making. But I
The
think
good
it's
thing
going to
is
be some
Josh Reynolds has been
challenges.
there for a while
He's really good. He's really
and has been
sharp.
through the wars. Like that that's
Yeah.
a good thing with Josh. Like he's been through the wars and he's been there for a long time too.
Yeah, I think he's really sharp. I think he's a great hire. So, we'll see how that goes in year one at Tennessee. The expectations are going to remain high, like they always are. They're very talented, but they also have some more question marks on that roster than they have in recent years. So, again, another great sophomore class. And I do love to bet on sophomores. Teams that are sophomore heavy, more than junior heavy, even a lot of times. Like those are the ones that, to me, they don't have draftitis. They're just like they're out there and just they got the swagger. They got some confidence now. That's intriguing to me. They could wind up being a lot better than we have them ranked.
I do want to give Tony Vitello a shout out, by the way. I spoke at the Ohio Clinic. He actually flew in and spoke at the Ohio Clinic because they had put him on there when he was at Tennessee. So he flew from Arizona, which he didn't have to do that. And that's like the greatest thing about the baseball industry is he actually got on a flight from Arizona and San Francisco and came to Ohio 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, and spoke, which he didn't need to do. And no matter what anybody thinks about Tony, like I do really feel like he cares about the game, and I do want him to do great. By the way, I think it would be great for college baseball if they do well with the Giants.
I just think it's fascinating that that whole situation has forced me to think of it, the big leagues, managing the big leagues in a different way. And I just where I landed on it is like these Division I head coaches that have been in the game at a high level for, and even for Tony, whatever it was, 8 years, I think. Think about all the regional games and super regional games and Omaha games that Tony Vitello managed in, and think about the pressure of the MLB playoffs. And this is not me taking a shot at minor league baseball, but minor league baseball does not offer a manager or a head coach that type of pressure cooker. But if you're an SEC head coach, you're getting that 10, 15, 20 games a year easy. And so again, there's a lot of different paths to the top of the sport, but being a coach of that ilk sure is incredible preparation.
And your former boss has proven it out with the Brewers too.
That doesn't hurt. Yeah. Yeah.
That's got to be in the back of a front office mind. You look at what Murph's done with the Brewers. I cut his teeth for a long time on college baseball.
Big leaguers are younger too, by the way. Like I
Yes.
think it's another factor, right?
And
Like
a lot of college guys now.
yeah, and they get to the big leagues quicker, and they're just that 33-year-old journeyman big leaguer is kind of a unicorn now. Like that's not the way they're doing it anymore. Like those guys are priced out. So anyway, yeah, am I proud of Murph? Yes, very much. It's been awesome to watch.
Now my favorite staff because Spencer Allen's their first base coach now.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
that was cool.
Matty Erickson's their third base coach now, who's an Arkansas legend, Appleton, Wisconsin legend.
That's
So
great.
that's
Love
not my
that.
favorite staff in the big leagues. Where are you guys going to be at early? Or where are you calling games at early, Runes?
I got so the first 3 weekends, first weekend in Phoenix is awesome. Like if you're listening, you're a college, if you're just a baseball junkie, the opening weekend in Phoenix is incredible because you got Surprise and you've got the Desert Invitational all over the spring training sites. ASU's home. Oregon State comes as a surprise. It's awesome. And then I've got the peak events tournaments, the weekends 2 and 3. I've got Round Rock, and then I've got the Vegas tournament this year is bonkers. Vandy, Oregon, Irvine, and Arizona.
Wow.
Yep. And those guys at peak events do an awesome job.
Aaron, where are you going to be at?
So I'm starting at, I'm going down to Hattiesburg. We got a fun little kind of intersectional matchup here. UC Santa Barbara at Southern Miss, which I just think is a neat matchup. And, and I love going to Hattiesburg. Those people down there just go nuts for college baseball, and I may get down to see Missouri State at Louisiana as well later in the weekend, and then week 2 we've got East Carolina, North Carolina traveling series, and week 3 I'll be at Globe Life. So, our staff is going to be all over the place. We got all these great early season tournaments, the peak events, of course, the Rev events, and it gives us a chance to see a lot of teams, in a condensed period, without going to as many places. You can sit in one spot and see a whole bunch of good teams, and so we'll have a presence at most of those major.
And you
Really,
guys are
all those
streaming
major
early too,
tournaments.
right? I read that you guys are streaming games early.
Yeah, we're streaming all the peak events. So what's
Love
that?
it.
Vegas, Jacksonville, Frisco, Round Rock. Am I forgetting one, Rudes? I don't know.
I think those are the 4. Yep.
Okay.
You guys are gonna be the next ESPN.
Well,
Covering dodgeball on the Ocho. Let's go.
there we go.
What else do we need to cover? What do you got? What else you guys looking forward to?
Year of the shortstop, RB.
Yes.
Incredible shortstops this year in college baseball. We talked about this on a recent podcast, Fitzy and I, but obviously Rock Chalowski's like Dansby Swanson 2.0, and then you've got Tyler Bell, 66 pick overall, turned down God knows how much money and comes to school, bets on himself. Justin LeBron, feels like a generational talent, and that's just the tip of the iceberg at that position. It's really an incredible year for shortstops.
Yeah.
Aaron, what about you? What do you got?
I think it's the year of Michael Patrick Rooney. I think
Let's go.
it's going to
Fabulous
be a great
Roondogs.
redemption story. Hurt in the preseason, going to battle through adversity and turn in a career season in his age 50. What I'm not on this. I'm not going to say it. However
That's right.
old he is, it's going to be a career season.
You don't want me showing up in your regional, RB, as I finally got healthy 3 seed. Yeah, I'm your worst nightmare.
A lot
in
of
your
5th year,
regional.
6th year seniors that are
Yeah,
ready to
that's
go.
right. Yes.
Guys, thank you. I can't thank you enough for doing this. I always love it. It gets me going. I do the other previews first, but I always look forward to finishing up with you guys. So thanks for jumping on with me again.
Super
The
fun.
man.
Here with Vincent Cervino, PG. What year is this for you now, Vincent? With PG?
Oh God, probably 10. Year 10.
Year 10. I'm gonna see the Atlanta offices tomorrow, actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'm going to watch Kennesaw, U of E, and Marshall play. So, and Taylor
Nice.
McCullough obviously he's our travel chair. So I'm gonna go down there and hang out with him, and then go watch practice at Kennesaw after that. So
Nice. Yeah. Taylor's the best.
yeah, and I haven't seen Tyson Kim since probably when I left Iowa. Honestly, it's been a long time since I've seen Tyson. So
Yeah. Tyson, he's still the mad scientist. So
yes. What have you enjoyed about covering D1 baseball?
to me, it's an entirely different aspect of the sport. Or I guess a different category almost. Like you look at high school ball. I watch obviously a ton of high school ball, youth baseball, sort of stuff like that. College is so much more of a next step for a lot of those guys. You see a lot of, I think things that high school guys would need to work on moving forward. Guys that like, this is what it takes to be a D1 athlete. This is what it takes to be a college athlete, and this is what they do on a day-to-day basis. Just kind of creating that ability for those guys to kind of set check marks, set benchmarks, to be able to grow and continue to elevate as baseball players.
Over the last 10 years, which high school guys have you liked the best?
Oh man, this is a fun one. I mean, it's hard to ignore what Bobby Witt was when he was in high school.
Love it.
That guy was a superstar the first time he got on a baseball field. I think Hunter Green was obviously pretty special in his own right. There's a lot of play. I think Hunter Green and Jack Caglianone really stand out because those were two guys. If the sport was in a different place, like they might not be doing what they were doing.
For sure.
If Jack gets drafted out of high school, he's probably a pitcher only, and we never get to see him hit 500-foot home runs. And the same can kind of be said for Hunter Green. If Hunter Green doesn't get drafted as a pitcher, like he probably would have been a first-round shortstop.
Any guys you saw along the way in high school that, obviously aren't pro ready, but go to college and then you look up later on, they're in the big leagues?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a ton of really good examples. I think Paul Skeens is probably the best example of that.
Yeah.
He was a catcher when he came to PG National. He didn't even pitch at the national showcase. Goes to Air Force for 2 years, then LSU for one, and then you blink and you miss it, and he's in the big leagues winning Cy Youngs.
Going over your top 25, great list. You guys got UCLA at 5, so I'm intrigued to ask about that because obviously it's just preseason, does not matter. But obviously, I think the intriguing thing for me now with college baseball is when you look at the preseason top 25s, you're like, okay, yep, 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 yep. And then realistically, you might look up and all 25 of those have a legitimate chance of maybe making it to Omaha, honestly, now.
Yeah, and I think UCLA. I think the thing that stood out most is the returners. What they have just production wise, they have the best returning core of the country. We can sit here like you said, preseason rankings for a reason. We that's literally what we do is sit there and look at the roster quality, the roster makeup, that sort of thing. But in terms of strictly returning production, I don't think UCLA is in a league of their own.
Is Craig on his way down to watch Texas this weekend?
Yeah, I believe he's going there.
Shout out, Craig.
Yeah, shout out Cozy.
I
believe
tried
it.
to get him to come into the office, but then obviously we were down in Austin for a youth summit, so we went to UT's practice, and so I got to talk to Sam for a while, but I'm a little slow on some of that stuff. But Sam looks good, man. I watched some of the alumni stuff with the UT alumni game that Sam pitched. He looks good, man. So hopefully he gets an opportunity to get a lot of innings, which I
Yeah,
think he
that
will.
should be. Yeah, I saw some of that alumni game too. He looked good. He looked sharp. But I mean, Texas pitching is going to be really, really good. So
Who else are you excited about in the top 25? I know everybody's talking about LSU and Georgia Tech, but who else are you excited about in the top 25?
I was going to say Georgia Tech. I feel like this is the best roster that they've had in some time. Like when you're talking about like offensively, I think that they really stand out for me. Florida is another team that really stands out for me. I think this is kind of the best shape their pitching staff has been in a couple of years when it comes to just horses at the top of the rotation. But also, I think that I think they're older than a lot of other SEC teams for the first time in a long time. And I think that senior leadership, that senior experience, I think that's proven to be a winning formula in recent years.
We do an office pool. I actually picked them to win it last year in our
So I
office
picked them to
pool.
win it this year. So
I know. We do. For people don't know that we do actually pick. Our office does actually pick an office pool of the 8 teams to make it. I pick a little bit earlier than probably I should out of everybody else, but I was better last year. I waited a little bit longer than some other guys in the office, so it actually worked out fine. So anybody on the outside looking in on the top 25 that might have a chance after these first couple weekends to pop in?
yeah, I think obviously the SEC is so deep, but Ole Miss is one of the teams that stood out. When you have a guy like Hunter Elliott coming back, like that makes Friday nights a lot easier in that conference. Um, and outside of that, Arizona is a team I was really bullish on. Kind of going through the preseason, I think they have a pretty good position in the Big 12, and I think they have a good roster top to bottom.
I think this might be a comeback year for the Big 12, actually.
Yeah, no, me too. I think there's a lot of depth.
Looking at the draft wise, who are some of the top position players we need to pay attention to? I know with Rock Chalowski at UCLA, and Burris at Georgia Tech. Who else do we need to pay attention to?
Yeah, those are the two big ones, obviously. Two more kind of big position player names. I'll give you AJ Gracia at UVA, followed that coaching staff over to Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And Justin LeBron at Alabama are two other really big names. You're probably talking about Derek Curriell from LSU in that category as well.
What about top pitchers?
Right now, I think on our draft board, we have Cameron Flukie from Coastal at 1. So some other guys that would kind of fit that category would be Liam Peterson of Florida, Jackson Flora at UC Santa Barbara is another name. And then you get into kind of your Tommy Laportes at TCU, Gabe Gackle at Arkansas. Hunter Dietz at Arkansas is another guy who has a chance to really climb up boards if he could show he's healthy. Owen Kramkowski at Arizona. Some other big names there.
Santa Barbara just keeps pumping them out.
It's a factory, man.
I think it's just a matter of time for them before they punch their ticket.
Yeah, I think so too. That's
I
gonna be
have them. They
fun.
were one of my picks a couple of years ago with that squad they had that got beat by Oregon.
Oh yeah.
Because I saw them early at Campbell, and I was like, they're having a hard time. But their catcher got hurt was the biggest part of that. He came back
Oh,
at the
that's
end of the
right.
year,
Yeah.
but I put them in as an Omaha team after I saw them that first weekend at Campbell.
Yeah, and I know obviously I mentioned Florida, but or Jackson, Florida, but they have a ton of arms on that staff, and watching them in Irvine go at it this year is gonna be fun.
Are you tracking the portal much? Who are the main portal transfer guys that bounced?
You mean like guys that are coming in this year?
Yeah, guys that switched schools.
Yeah, so obviously Gracia kind of followed Pollard in the staff to UVA. That's kind of
That's an old school one though. That's a
yeah.
coaching. That's not a poach. That's a coaching change one.
Yeah, same thing with like some of the Mississippi State guys following or Virginia following O'Connor to Mississippi State there. Some of the other ones that we got, obviously Chris Akopian going from Maryland to Texas A&M, I think is a pretty significant one. When you talk about kind of just the SEC schools grabbing some of the top guys in the portal. Trey Beard going to Florida State is another significant one. He was the first team All-American for us last year at Florida Atlantic. He'll be going to the ACC now. And then just kind of there's some of the top schools I think in the SEC, ACC kind of making big portal classes. It's definitely added a new wrinkle to the sport, that's for sure.
You have any sleepers to get to Omaha? Maybe people that aren't paying attention, sleepers, or maybe teams that haven't made it yet?
Um, yeah, I mean, it feels like for me, Oregon. I think we were obviously pretty high on Oregon in our preseason rankings, and then they haven't been as high in a couple other publications I've seen. But I think that's a very veteran roster, and I think they bring back some big pieces on the mound that can compete. And I think especially when you're talking about kind of the top half of the Big Ten,
Yep.
I think that's an extremely winnable conference for them. Obviously, UCLA is UCLA, but it looks like a two-horse race between those guys right now, and I'm just really bullish on their roster.
I still have a hard time with the conference realignment with the amount of teams that are in the Power Four conferences
It's
now.
kind of crazy, yeah.
I looked up some of these rankings, just popped across one of my feeds, and they're like starting from the bottom, and it's like 16, and I'm like, my brain had a hard time like just wrapping its head around that okay, there are 16 teams in these leagues now.
Yeah, I mean, little inside baseball on our end when we do the conference previews and everything. It's like when there's 16 teams in the conferences, it's like, all right, well, maybe we got to split these up a little bit, like get a couple guys working on this instead of just one person.
Exactly. Are you going to be out watching games early?
Yeah, my plan is so not this weekend, but next weekend. My plan is to hopefully be up in Jacksonville, the Land area.
Nice.
Stetson's couple teams coming, and then Jacksonville has that kind of classic going on. So hopefully be able to hit some of those games that weekend.
So if you had to go ahead, keep going.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say we have this weekend we're gonna have some of our guys over at Shriners, and then Surprise Arizona. And then we'll have guys kind of covering those early season Texas tournaments throughout the first couple weeks. Believe we're gonna have some coverage from the Vegas Classic in a couple weeks too. So
they wouldn't let you go to Puerto Rico?
Oh man, I wish. I love going to Puerto Rico. I go there a couple times a year. I love that place.
Do you really?
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. Just the food, the people, the baseball's awesome.
Oh, that's tremendous. So if you had to pick right now, who are your two to play for the national championship?
Ooh, I'll say let's go UCLA and Arkansas.
Love it.
I feel like people are sleeping
I'm
on
pulling
Arkansas.
for Arkansas. I said this with the D1 baseball guys. I love Coach Van Horn. I go
Oh,
way
he's
back with Coach Van Horn, so
yeah,
I
it's
do.
great.
I have a soft spot for him as a human being, so I do want. That's not saying against any of my other friends in college baseball and Division I baseball, but I am pulling for Coach Van Horn.
And I think Arkansas is like universally like the last couple of years like a top 5 preseason team, a top program, all this and that. But for this year, for whatever reason, I feel like they're getting a little slept on, and it's like, guys, this is still a really really good team.
And maybe that's the year that they do it.
Honestly, yeah, comes when you least expect it.
What other storylines are you following? Because I mean, we had quite a bit in the offseason with coaches switching.
Yeah, so obviously some of the new coaching hires are super interesting to me. Um, Interested to see kind of what Tennessee looks like.
Yep.
Big fan of Coach Elander. Think they do a great job over there at Tennessee, but very interesting when we have a very similar case study the year prior with Michael Early at A&M and kind of how that went. Obviously, Tennessee's not like the unanimous number 1 team in the preseason, so a little bit different expectations. But um, on the flip side of that, Mississippi State, I think, is super interesting because they're almost like a universal top 5 preseason team in one off season. Obviously, Coach Oak's going to do a really good job and has done a really good job building that roster. But seeing kind of where they can go. Another thing that stands out to me is Oregon State. I think this is the second year in a row they've done a really tremendous job with their scheduling. Obviously, the roster construction and building the roster, that sort of thing. But like, they got a guy like Dax Whitney to campus. They got him to turn down first round money to go to school, and they're still like they're still an elite baseball program, and showing that kind of the second year in a row now being quote unquote independent, but showing that they can schedule like a top 10 team, like a national title contending team, I think is the hats off to them. Kudos to them.
It's got a little bit of that early 2000s Oregon State feel to it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that 1-2 punch of Whitney and Kleinschmidt's going to be tough to beat for anybody.
One of my other outside, I think TCU is going to get there too.
Yeah, TCU is really good. That sophomore class they got there is really, really special.
What else do we need to touch on before I let you go?
So Jay Johnson's got 2 national titles in 4 years at Baton Rouge. That's pretty good. We had a conversation a couple weeks back doing the obviously they're our number 1 team in the preseason. Talk about. I didn't know if you know this or not. It was like I told him, you won 2 national titles, but you've actually never won the SEC. So speaking of like super conferences and 16-team leagues now, I thought that was kind of funny.
It's really hard to do though, especially with that league. That's a grind to try to get through that schedule. But he's so good, and obviously it matters way more in the postseason than it does in the regular season. Obviously, the regular season matters, but it's so hard with that amount of teams to try to win that thing, especially the 2 sides.
The other thing I think is that I think this is going to be a banner year for the ACC. I think the ACC is really, really deep this year. I think we had eight teams ranked in our preseason top 25. That could have easily been, 10 or 11 probably. But other sports notwithstanding, I think ACC is absolutely a 1A, 1B with the SEC.
Yeah. As it should be. Makes for better. Makes for better paying attention to it.
100%.
What else? Anything else we need to cover?
Just kind of looking at my sheet here. Like I said with the Big Ten, like I'm interested to see kind of how that shakes out outside of like the top. Hopefully some of those schools in the middle of the pack, like or I guess top end middle ish, like your Nebraskas, your Rutgers, that sort of thing. See kind of how they shape up. Vanderbilt might be the most interesting team in the country to me.
Love it.
This is they're not sexy for lack of a better term, right? Like they don't have like the number 1 pick on their roster or this, but I think they're a very good club, and I think that their pitching in particular doesn't get enough love. I think they have some very, very good pieces in that rotation. I think Austin Nye is going to explode and be a superstar this year. Personally, I was a big Austin Nye guy back in high school, and It sucked. He got injured, so he missed his senior summer, so we didn't get to see him. He came back and pitched, I think, in the spring, but I think he's going to explode this year.
Love it. Love it. All right, sir. Well, enjoy this opening weekend here. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you as
on
well.
with me. Yep, I look forward to it, and I'll give the PG office a shout out.
Yeah, tell Taylor and Tyson I said hello.
All right, sir. All right, thank you.